Welcome back, guys. This is going to be the fourth part of our video tutorial series. In this video, of course, very first thing I would like to do, if you follow along with this video series, a video tutorial that we are doing. Last time, what we did was we downloaded, AngularJS. We downloaded AngularJS using a component. Package management component for the client side called Bower. We downloaded AngularJS, and Bower automatically added a folder called Bower component, and inside this component we have a bunch of AngularJS related files. Okay, and then so idea is now we are ready to use AngularJS in our application, in our page right here. So this is how basically right here, I'm referring to all the files that I need. For example, I need AngularJS first thing, and I need my module file, I need my service, and because and finally I need my controller, because the controller has a dependency to service and module, and of course eventually our post dependency is the AngularJS. In that order, the browser has to download these files. But however, if I comment out this code right here, I will explain to you what this code does. But if I comment this out, and if I run our application right now as it is, it's gonna say, and then let's go into our create product category page. And if I go into the console developer tool right here, it says, hey, there was a request. The browser basically sent, when the page was loaded, page sent a request for the AngularJS file, as you can see right here. However, if server said, hey, I don't have that file, I don't know how there is no such resource exists, which you can also verify it from I have the Node.JS, the AngularJS code, and it is also showing right here, and you will see all these errors right here: product, module, service, and category, because all of them are depending upon the AngularJS, and since AngularJS is not loaded, and they are showing all of them as an error file. It says like AngularJS is not defined, which makes sense, right? Okay, you can either verify from here, and other thing is, of course, when the Node.js, your server, is running, it is also here. There was a request for AngularJS right here, but the status sent out by the server is 404. Means it is not found. The requested resource is not found. Okay, to make it happen so that AngularJS, we need to have this configuration uncomment here. So basically, this configuration is saying whenever there is a request for any file inside this folder called Bower component. So basically this one allows us to have that files from the Bower directory, served to the client. So this dir and name, this one is referring to our parent directory, which is of course this guy right here. And in there we have a folder called Bower components. Once this code enables, and if I run this application again, we should be fine. We should not have any issue. Let's go in here. That's where we had error, and if I refresh this page, all the error into the console is gone. So that is the concept. That is very important to explain to you guys. So that is that. Okay, now the next thing we would like to do is, of course, up to this point, I have not created a database and anything. Let's go ahead and create a database, and then we need to have our table ready, because we are close to writing code to connect to database and persist this data from our UI to the backend MySQL database. So in MySQL command, I'm going to go ahead and create database. I'm going to create a database called product management, and I'm going to use that database. All right, into this one, I have a schema here. Well, I have some script here. I'll show you. So from the beginning in my tutorial, I'm saying I will have very simple database table structure. I will have a product category table, and I will have a product table. So in line number 16, as you can see right here, this product has a reference to product category. That's why this foreign key is right here. This foreign key is referring to a product category table. So I have to have the product category should be executed first, and then of course after that I can add a product. Well, just for our demo right now, the very first demo, we just need this table, product category table. But I'm going to go ahead and execute this code. Okay, anyway. In terms of a structure, like I say, it's very simple. It has an ID as a primary key of the table with auto increment. That's like identity column for SQL Server. It's a category name as a data type varchar 100, not required field. Detail is 4,400 characters, could be null. And it's a valid or not, like the idea about it's valid or not. I want to know if it's time you should be able to disable the category. Maybe you don't want to sell that particular category of product anymore. This field would allow you to do that, and you want to know when the product was added into the system, and if somebody modifies it, you want to know those information. Okay, I'm going to not talk about this product yet. When the product, later on I'll be talking about this one, but right, just for now I'm going to go ahead and execute this into the cool. Luckily there was no syntax error and everything is good. Now if I say tables, use management and so tables. Now we have two tables. Okay, that's good. Our database side of the work is done. Okay. So next thing we need is, of course, we know once we have our database, we need the connection string. We need the username, password, server name, and database name. Those kind of information to connect to a database from my from this application, right? So that's to do that. What I have done is I create a folder called server. These are like mundane tasks that you have to do it. That's why I didn't do a live code. That's why I'm just explaining the code. But starting from when we'll be live coding, because these are the things kind of like manual kind of work. That's why I just go ahead and create it instead of doing the live coding for those. And then this is this is my connection string. Very simple. Starting from line number 3, I have just a JavaScript literal object called MySQL connection string. Starts from here, goes all the way up to here, and inside that object I have another object called connection. It is also a literal object having property like a dev and QA. The idea is like you will be writing your code into dev machine, and eventually it might go into QA. And QA would be verifying it, and everything is good, then only after that it go into production. In that case, perhaps you might do something like and you're gonna say production. In this case, of course, you might have wherever you deploy, then you have actual server information and user ID and password, and those information you just put it right here. And you will modify that code wherever you've been using this one. Okay, that is very simple. And after that, once all that is all done, what I have done is just I have to export this one so that other module can use it. That is that. Once I have the connection string, now I need actual connection object. So then I can deal with, once I have obtained the connection, then I can do persist, delete, I can do all the Crud operation. To do that, I create another JavaScript file. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and briefly explain to you what's really going on here. Very first thing, we have to require this module called MySQL. If you have followed along, we created this. We downloaded using the npm package management tool for the server or for the Node.JS. We downloaded this MySQL. which you can see into this npm folder. Here is MySQL right here with the version 2.6.1, right? Now we are trying to use it. We are importing that module into this module. In line number 3, of course, we just remember that connection string that we created. We need that reference to this one. And once those two data is available, the objects are available, and starting from line number 5 and going all the way to here, I have a little object, a JavaScript object literal called MySQL connection string provider. And in this, we have two methods: get MySQL connection and close MySQL connection. So the idea, first, as you just by the name, you can see the idea of the first one is just to provide the connection string to its client, and the second one is to once you have connection, do something, maybe do insert, update, or whatever, and then after that you close the connection. That is the whole idea. And of course, very first thing in here inside this method, you're gonna have a variable called connection. This is how you create connection in this module. Okay, MySQL has a method called create connection. This connection takes an object that has those properties like username, password, all those things, which is given by this div right here, basically referring to this. Okay, and then once you have reference to the connection object, then the good thing about Node.js, it's kind of like a convention or the pattern. Whenever you pass the callback function, like we are passing here the callback function to the connect method, very first parameter is the error object. That's what we are passing here to our callback function, to our anonymous callback function. And then in here, if there is an error, we're going to say, hey, the error has occurred, so we will be handling that one. But in this case, I'm just throwing the error. Maybe in a production, once you deploy, maybe you would like to log that information into your log file or whatever you want to. If this guy is, if everything is good, if there is no error, this is null, then this, our connection to MySQL database, TCP connection to MySQL database becomes successful, and we're just going to write that information into here, saying the connection becomes successful, and return that connection to whoever called this method. Whoever, I mean, like when I say whoever, any module, any code. That is all this one is doing. And the next one is close MySQL connection. It's pretty easy. Whenever you call this method, you need to know you already know the connection. You pass that connection to it, and then basically, if there is a connection in line number 22, I go in here and call the end method. The same idea, call the callback function with error in it, and just throw it, otherwise becomes successful. And finally, in line number 37, I export this one to the module. Okay, that is that. Starting from next one, what are we going to do? We're going to write our very first method called create product category. So to do that, I create a folder called DAO. This DAO is related to product category, and this is where we're going to write our code. Of course, we have to do a couple of things. Very first thing, we need to, acquire or get it. We need the connection provider. We need this guy right here, MySQL connection provider. But I'm here inside the product category DAO. So how do I do that? Very first thing, I go into my parent. In this case, my parent is, of course, DAO, and I go into the one more level up, that is the server folder, and that's server right here, and that's where I will find my SQL connection string provider. I'm just gonna, instead of okay, because I need that one to get the connection information. Okay, that's the first thing we have to do, and then after that, let's define a DAO here. let's name it this as a product category DAO as a literal object. In it we'll be writing some method, and then we basically say in here we can define a method called what are we going to call it? To say create product category. Can be a function, and when the function gets called, we need to get a product category object here, and then of course also the callback function. Something like that. When this method gets called, we want to get two pieces of information. We want to obtain the data that we like to persist, and then also the callback function. Something like that. Okay. In here, okay, very first thing, let's write down our insert statement here. Insert statement, which looks kind of like this. We're going to say insert into product category. It's basic SQL, right? And then there is you can use this command called set and the question mark here. That's what you're going to do. And then after that statement is done, of course, we need the very first thing we need the connection. How do we obtain the connection? We have this connection provider guy. Here is a connection provider, and I wish it would give me the intelligence. Okay, this guy has the MySQL connection string. Okay, and this one has a property called get MySQL connection. Of course, there might be typo or whatever. Just right now, assuming we got the connection successfully. If we got the connection all right, then we can say okay, this connection has a method called query. The query is, of course, the first thing you're going to pass through the query is just by looking, you're going to pass the insert statement. That is the one we'll be inserting. Okay, and this can be our insert statement here. And the second parameter would be the object literal array of data that you need to pass. So in this case, I still don't have that object, but let me go ahead and create the data that we would like to have. I'm going to define a little object called category as a literal object. Remember, when I persist, I need to have okay, I need to have the category name. So I can do something like, and how do I get the category name? It comes out from product category dot category name. That's the first parameter. And after that, I needed details. And how do I obtain that detail? Because also provided by my object called product category. Product category dot details. And third parameter is valid. And of course, that also comes out from is valid. And finally, the parameter called created date. That's just basically we're going to pass this new date, today's date. Now we have our object defined, and that's what we're going to pass here, called category. We don't really have, we could have just passed this like that, the whole thing in here, that would be okay too, but we know later on when you have to debug it, it's nice to do something like this. And finally, as you can say, always the last parameter is a callback function, and then always the first parameter may be error, and the second parameter would be the result. And the same idea, you will see the kind of pattern going on here. And here inside this implementation, we're going to say if there is an error, something is not right here. My category got closed here. This closes here. Oh, maybe I have one extra. That's why it's complaining. Okay, hold on. That closes that. That closes that. That closes that. And one more closes there. But this is my function called query, and then here it's missing this little. That's why it was complaining. Function that okay. I think that's why it was unhappy. Okay, and then of course what we can do here is we can say if there is an error, we're going to handle error, right? Otherwise, so remember, like when the user calls this method, they're going to provide us this callback function like that. We're going to invoke this callback function right here, and if it is successful, then we're going to say something like we're going to pass the object literal. Maybe we're going to say status successful, something like that. And just to see it, it persisted, we can also do console.log, and we can say whatever that result is. Okay, this is what we have to do. Why it is still complaining? Let me check all my curly braces here. This if that closes that, and finally this closes. That closes that curly braces here, and this gonna close our statement right here, and after that would close our if statement, and we need one more. Okay, sorry for that, guys. Sorry, it's always Okay, as you can see, the implementation is pretty simple. So what we did was basically we acquired, this guy, because that guy knows this guy has a method, and then we create an object called product category DAO, and then of course inside this we create a method called create product category, and then we have our insert. This is where we would like to insert the record that's coming in, and we create an object literal containing properties like category name, details, valid, and created date, because all of these are required field. We need to process those. And very first thing, we're using our object connection provider. We get a MySQL connection. Once we have the connection, we call a query method on it and pass the insert statement category, and then the last is the callback function to execute it by the query method. And of course, we need to say something here. We're going to throw the error here, and if there is this error is null, that's a good thing. It means like our insert becomes successful. We can just return to the user, hey, status becomes successful. Otherwise, of course, we have to test this one. We just finished writing this code. So in the next video tutorial, that's what we'll be doing. We'll be testing this one, make sure it works, and we'll be going forward. Thank you so much for following my videos. Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.